The governor of Illinois last year vetoed a law giving automatic voter registration for anybody that signed up for a driver's license or state ID. He did that last year. This year, this is as of May 30th. I got this article from the Huffington Post, but I've seen it reported in numerous other places. He just signed it, saying that he changed his mind and he's going to do this. So typically, it's been Republicans who are against this because they don't want minorities to vote. Democrats don't want independents to vote. So, and the initial complaint that this Governor Bruce Rauner of Illinois is a Republican last year was, and they always use this, what if, illegal immigrants use this to vote? And they've done studies after studies that, especially now since Trump becoming president and with the increase of deportations, is that illegal immigrants don't want to accidentally sign up or falsify something and get deported because they tried to vote when they couldn't. They've done studies after studies, and it's like, no, they don't want to do that. So this is the fact that the governor then changed his mind, this is a positive thing. So, because what happened was the measure passed the Illinois House 115-0 on Monday and will head to the state Senate for consideration of the bill with the changes. The Senate previously passed a version 48-0. So why this is significant is they did this in Oregon and had huge upticks in voter registration. And this is a big issue. And getting more people to vote is a big issue and making it easier for people to register to vote. Now, there's still plenty of tricks that both parties can play, gerrymandering and like flipping party affiliation. They do a lot of the shenanigans in the primaries, which is why I suggest going to openprimaries.org. I remember hearing about motor voter registration in the 90s. I remember back when MTV still had a shred of decency. It was like, it did the whole rock the vote thing. And they were trying to get that to pass. And it's always, oh, what if people could... Look at how you register to vote now. You just go into like a post office or something and fill out some form and send it in. It's harder to get a driver's license or a state ID. You have to have way more verification on who you are. You can't fill out multiple ones of those. So this whole idea that motor voter, you always hear the floodgates of fake voter. No, you want low voter turnout. Both parties do. It's easier to manipulate the population if fewer people show up to vote. The 70 or 100 million people, whatever the number is, I've heard varying versions of it, of people that didn't show up to vote in this last election in November. That was great. That was great. You don't want that to happen. You don't want 100 million people to show up. You don't want, like, what if 70 or 100 million people showed up to vote and they all voted third party? What would have that looked like? What kind of government would we be looking at now if Jill Stein and Gary Johnson each got 100 or so or up to 150 some like electoral votes? Maybe we would have had a runoff. That might have been interesting. Who knows what would have happened then? What if it was, Hillary Clinton versus Jill Stein or something like that? That would have been awesome. So it's good that these organizations are pushing for this, and it's something we should all get behind and support, because there's still so much that needs to be overhauled with the voter. First of all, why are we having elections on a Tuesday, on a work day? There's countries that have multiple day elections. Why don't we have runoff elections? Why don't we go to a top two system with everything? First we got to open up the primaries. First we need the Republicans and Democrats. They control the election process. Both parties do. There's no mention of the two parties in the Constitution. But this is a step in the right direction, and encourage more of your state legislators to push for this motor voter. And I'll read you a quote from Jay Young, the political director at Common Cause Illinois, which is one of the groups that pushed automatic voter registration. He said in an interview, "We tried to stay true to the principles that had been expressed by our partners in the coalition. And we really felt like it was probably tactically helpful to provide folks on that side of the aisle with language that they were comfortable with and familiar with. We got pretty much everything we were hoping for in terms of how we wanted this to go forward. So some noted that the version of automatic voter registration Rower signed isn't as robust as it could be, but advocates disputed the suggestion that the new bill was watered down in any way. Well, here's what they had to do. They had to do to water it down, okay? The language in the bill was virtually the same as the one pushed by Democrats, just with a different structure, said Andy Kang, legal director at Asian Americans Advancing Justice Chicago. Some noted the version of automatic voter registration Ron will sign isn't as robust as I just said. Okay. It's hard to get any information on what exactly the different language was and how they're, what they did to get this guy to switch. So the new measure, here's what they put in there. Requires voters to affirm they are eligible to vote and gives them the option to opt out. If that's what they needed, now maybe this Republican governor said, I want that in there because now we can use those automated systems to just chuck ballots out of there or chuck voter registration out of there, which they do a lot of. Maybe someone said, hey, governor, if you have to do this and verify you're alive, then you can't have all those dead people in Chicago vote like they always do every year. Overall, I'm in favor of this, and overall, I want this to happen in more states. So this is something we should all push for, and thank you for supporting the show.